Bora 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 City. It is time to check out her new magazine. Bora 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 City. Let's check out BTS and K-pop without the K. I heard some things about this and that it's a pretty spicy topic, so we're gonna get straight into it. Thank you so much for what you do, Bora. And if you don't know Bora, honestly, I don't feel like Bora needs an explanation, but I will do it anyways. Very informative, very well made video essays, a lot of research done, and creates a lot of good topics and raises a lot of good conversations through her videos. So if you want to check her out, please do so. But yeah, let's check this out. BTS and Keep Up Without the K.
On December 2023, a New York Times podcast released an episode titled Jungkook, BTS, and English Language.
This is what you guys were talking about. Oh yeah. This came out like in December, I think, right? I remember now.
K-pop. In the first few seconds of this episode, the podcast host shows how much knowledge he has on the subject by referring to Jungkook as if Jung were his first name and Cook his last name. This
Oh Lord. Sheesh, Bora already going guns blazing.
really puts some things into perspective.
You're listening to, is it the biggest pop star in America or the world? It's tough to know sometimes where boundaries should be set or are being set. That was Seven by Jungkook and Lotto. Jungkook, as I'm sure you know, is a member of BTS.
But don't worry, this apparently clueless man will actually have the most logical takes because his guest is a very professional addition to the podcast, an anonymous and very small K-pop blogger who also seems to dislike everything related to BTS and their success.
Of course.
And I say seems to dislike because I don't want any problems, but by the things this person says,
If you need a laugh, most popular band in the world, absolutely rolling. Wow.
I would say that they are an outright full-blown BTS hater.
Definitely, 100%.
But you be the judge of that.
No last name because the stands are crazy. And anybody who listens to podcasts knows about the ongoing struggles between people who try to think critically about pop music in a variety of fields and people who tweet.
Just a reminder that this is the New York Times amplifying the voice of an anonymous, self-proclaimed K-pop expert and a constant denier of BTS's success just because. Very professional of them. Now, I'm going to clip parts of the podcast because the full episode is kind of long, full of broken sentences, and not everything is relevant, but you will be able to see every time I jump sections. And I will be linking the full episode in the description so you can check that I'm not taking anything out of context. So before talking about BTS,
I just gotta say, if that's the standard we go by, like when the host is the one that making the most sense, like the bar is already set super low. This is the same host that said that rap should only belong and come from US because it's American. He said that to Swedish artists, actually. And this self-proclaimed expert, guys, why? Like, to me, the biggest problem in this entire situation is not even the fact that she's a hater. You can't help it. There's going to be so many people hating. It's the fact that New York Times are giving this expert a platform to spread this nonsense. That's like the biggest issue that I have straight up with this. Why are the New York Times giving this no-name, unknown hater, aka expert, a platform? That's what like immediately sets me off. It's just not a good look. But of course, BTS, just the name BTS brings clicks, and what more than being controversial about it? Like,
we talk about the first K-pop attempts to enter the American music industry.
We can go back to what feels like something that was like 100 eons ago, which is Big Bang, 21. Like that era of K-pop groups really starting to make inroads in America. My recollection, going to those shows, listening to those albums, is these are musicians, producers, songwriters who were making an incredible maximalist version of pop music, taking it, amplifying it, piecing together in unexpected juxtapositions.
I don't know if you remember, Rain appeared on the Colbert Report. You had the Wonder Girls coming through. Korea is a very small country. And And they had already spread at this point in the mid-2000s to Japan, which is a massive music market right next door. The next step was this attempt to crack the American market. And they did it in a variety of different ways. So the JYP groups, which is the Wonder Girls, Rain, it feels almost like they tried to make something American sounding, but it didn't really connect, I think. But
Really?
these other groups, Big Bang and 21, they did moderate what they were doing.
Big Bang. She was so excited about saying Big Bang, she couldn't help it. Big Bang.
But it didn't really connect, I think. But these other groups, Big Bang and 21, they...
Guys, you know how we are with voice cracks. That was a voice curve. Big Bang.
It did moderate what they were doing a little bit, but it wasn't an attempt to appeal to America or to the West. It's more just an attempt to go big, to go global, and just be the biggest group on Earth.
How do you go global and become the biggest group on Earth? You need success in America for that. Obviously, Big Bang tried to do things in America for a reason.
There are definitely some concessions. There is some use of English in a lot of these songs, or nonsense words is another one.
Host language.
I mean, ring ding dong is ring ding dong no matter what language you speak. K-pop in Korea, in Japan, is part of something called idol culture. And idol culture can be very, I don't know, what do the kids say? They can be very extra, very over the top. It has a certain aesthetic that may not appeal to those of us in America.
This is the main point that the host and the guest will agree on in this entire episode. K-pop is maximalist, extra, over the top, and some would even say meaningless. These are the most important factors of what makes K-pop K-pop. If you take out the craziness, you just have pop. Rain and Wonder Girls try to enter the American market with normal pop, but Big Bang and 21 try to enter with K-pop. Big Bang and 21 did not want to appeal to the West, but Rain and Wonder Girls did. More than that, the guest seems to imply that Big Bang and 21's K-pop sound connected with a Western audience, while Rain and Wonder Girls' pop sound couldn't. This starts to show some of the biases of the guest. K-pop is YG Entertainment. K-pop is Big Bang. Because as much as she attributes Big Bang as a group who did not try to appeal to a Western audience by sticking to their typical K-pop sound, she can't help but recommend another Big Bang song as one K-pop song that can appeal to a quote-unquote normal music listener.
Okay, straight up, 3 minutes in, 4 minutes in. She's a fan of Big Bang. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with being a fan of Big Bang, but it's clear that she is one of those jealous, toxic stans that are definitely annoyed at the fact that BTS reached the success that they have, that they did things that not Big Bang could do, not anyone else could do, and that is eating her up from the inside to see this happen. It's just, this is why I feel like you shouldn't have a person like this, because an expert means subjective. People need to means not subjective. It means they're well versed in what they're talking about. They will set aside their biases. Not being subjective, sorry. My point is here, like, you should try to stray away from being biased as much as possible. They literally brought on a BTS hater and a Big Bang lover and just gave her a platform to say what she wanted to do. I bet you, since this was like filmed in like December, this was her second Christmas. You know what? I'll take it further. She's probably listened to her own podcast like 15 times. She probably does it like every morning. It's her workout routine. Just because she's like, finally I got to say this to some people and not just keep my profile hidden.
Is there a song from that era that is emblematic of a song that kind of nodded to an American sensibility, even as it held tight to the kind of framework of what was working in K-pop?
Well, the first one that comes to mind is Big Bang's, with the video shot on the street in,
Good job.
I think it's Brooklyn, the diverse models that are with them, and just, it was so cool. Like, it was just
To
so
you.
effortlessly cool. It was the kind of thing that could appeal to a normal music listener. The boy groups also.
What's a normal music listener though? What, like, are we all like listening to music with our feet? What, do we put our headphones in our nostrils and
They can have a very specific look that's just not appealing to an American palate, but something like They look cool. The diverse women that were in the video, it was set in Brooklyn, and it just sounded like a good pop song.
So for the guest, when Wonder Girls and Rain released Western pop music, it didn't really connect with the audience. But when Big Bang did the same, it was cool and it sounded like a good pop song. This is especially laughable because this Big Bang song did not have the same impact as Wonder Girls' Western pop songs. This is not a good example of an emblematic song, but that doesn't matter. Whatever Big Bang releases with no success in the West, good. Whatever Wonder Girls releases with actual success in the West, bad. You will have the same judgment for BTS's English songs. When they do it, it's every negative adjective you can think of. But when Big Bang does it, she celebrates it.
Why is she even on the podcast for? Like watching something like Switched Out and then going to this, you can definitely feel the intelligence has evaporated.
Actually, she will bring Big Bang out of nowhere multiple times.
Not
Fashion
Bora, but the
is huge.
podcast.
With G-Dragon, especially Top from Big Bang, also has a lot of connections in the art world. He's very respected. And it wasn't like going back to Big Bang where you had G-Dragon. I don't think we're off base.
I'm sorry, but what's with the G-Dragon?
Very respected. And it wasn't like going back to Big Bang where you had G-Dragon. I don't think we're off base because even going back, we were talking about Big Bang.
Her attempts of overestimating Big Bang's impact in the West and cleaning their criminal image goes beyond this podcast. Today may not be the best time to ignore their criminal charges and sex crime scandals, but that's exactly what she will do.
I'm not one that talks about drama, but to me, it's absolutely insane that you're not covering Seungri's criminal charges and the Burning Sun scandal. That scandal, I knew about it. One of the craziest things to ever happen, like one of the biggest things to happen in the K-pop industry. You can't just overlook that. You can't just overlook that. It doesn't matter if they had diverse things. The things that they did with the Burning Sun scandal is absolutely vile. Disgusting behavior. Disgusting behavior. Honestly, there's not a single shred of sympathy towards Seungri or how that altered the things. You cannot do those things. That's people's lives. That's actual human being treated that way and have been treated that way versus music. Nah. I'm sorry, but like if something like that comes up, it is tough. Like you cannot look past this. I don't care who it is. If my own family does something like that, I can't just be like no.
On her articles celebrating Big Bang in the big year of 2024. But whatever.
That should say everything that you need to know about this person and their stance. You cannot take anything they say seriously if this is how they look at something like that.
Let's jump to the section where they talk about BTS.
Their whole career, BTS from the very beginning, they're kind of a chameleon group. And then 2017, 2018, where they started morphing into a group aimed more at an American boy band audience. And I think the way that they were received in America was as a boy band. I think of it as their One Direction era.
No one cares what you think of it. Just because you think it. Like this person thinks that the world revolves around what they think.
Because they're using some of these same songwriters. It's the Jonas Brothers. It's that era of boy band.
This is an interesting point. The guest refers to BTS's entrance on the Western music industry as their boy band era and compares them to One Direction and the Jonas Brothers. But when she's asked to name one song that represents their One Direction era, she names Mic Drop, a song that One Direction and the Jonas Brothers would never release.
Do you feel like is Mic Drop the song where you think the pivot hits? Is it Fake Love the song where the pivot hits?
For me, I think it was Mic Drop because they got on Steve Aoki.
Sheesh. Give her some water, please. Mike.
Song where you think the pivot hits? Is it Fake Love the song where the pivot hits?
For me, I think it was Mic Drop because they got on Steve Aoki. Just to my ears, I didn't really understand why they had this big touted collab with a guy I'd never heard of before.
Oh, nah. Guys, why are we even doing this, really? How are you going to throw so much shade on Steve just because your hate for BTS is so strong? Are you kidding me? Like, you can't give BTS any flowers? Look, you gotta understand, accept it. Let it go, let it go. Your time is no more. Let it go, let it go. I don't follow EDM. So just because you follow EDM, you don't understand because you're not educated. Like, that's the entire point of this. Like, the amount of ignorance is this. I didn't understand because I didn't know. I didn't hear about this guy. So obviously, because if I haven't heard of it, it must be awful. That's what I think. Like, it just.
I don't follow EDM. So it's a little bit awkward too. The song's a little awkward, and it's still in that awkward BTS.
Mic drop is awkward? You can't say 2 sentences without getting a voice crack.
Sarah, it definitely did have that sense of, yeah, we're gonna get some names that Americans will know. And it wasn't like going back to Big Bang where you had G-Dragon with Missy Elliott, or you had Diplo actually reaching out to work with GD and TOP, and that's just had a very different feel.
You don't know EDM, but you've heard of Diplo, but you haven't heard of Steve. Hypocrisy, that's all I see.
To it.
Once again, the hypocrisy. BTS's Western collaborations are a little awkward. The songs are awkward. This era is awkward. But Big Bang doing the same thing just had a very different feel to it. Javen points out that Diplo actually reached out to Big Bang. So, huge Western artists also reach out to BTS. Sometimes the BTS members accept, and sometimes they don't. Yet you would still call BTS's Western collaborations not organic. How is choosing who they want to collaborate with not organic? She wants to paint a picture, in my opinion. A picture in which Big Bang is desired by the Western industry, while BTS tries too hard. In reality, the Western music industry never wanted Big Bang, BTS, or anyone from K-pop. Despite this, BTS were the only ones who really entered, stayed, and remained successful in the Western music industry.
And that is something a lot of people hate. A lot of people despise this because their favorites could not. Big Bang could not. Any other group that are there right now could not. BTS literally paved the way. Anyone doing it after BTS as well will be doing it with the help of BTS because BTS has the blueprint, which no one can really clone, but you can still use it to some extent, I suppose. But like, it's just like, look, BTS has done everything that she wishes Big Bang did, and unfortunately for her, it didn't happen. I mean, for various reasons. But I just want to say, like, there is no other group that you can put side by side with BTS. And I don't just say this because I am an ARMY. I understand I may seem biased. I totally understand, but looking at it objectively, like, whether it's how big they are, their music, their art, the talent, the shows, the performances, the dancing, the singing, the rapping, literally, they got the full package. And not just that, they have made so many groundbreaking changes, and they have always been advocating for so much good. Please, just please, like, you can't, like, just don't try.
This is a hard pill to swallow for the common K-pop fan, but it's the truth. The masses made the quote-unquote awkward ones stay in the industry, while they rejected Big Bang's most important attempts. Just look at the title of the podcast: Jungkook, BTS, and the others. But the host will ignore these crazy assumptions by the guest because he's excited to tell his experience of spending a night in a studio with K-pop singer CL.
I once spent the night in a studio with Diplo and CL for a story that never came out. So really wild, really strange night. We were in the studio, then we went to an Usher concert. I can't remember, like, went back to the studio. That story, that's something more.
Huh? I'm so lost right now. Like, what, you spent the night in a studio with another artist? That's the story. And then, so yes, I agree. With what? What was that point? Huh? Oof, I'm telling you. In that room, 2 + 2 is 5. The earth is flat.
Shout out Dylan. Great night. So yes, I agree. There's an awkwardness to it.
But like I said before, the host will be the one bringing a tiny bit of sense to some crazy statements by the guest. He will give the benefit of the doubt to BTS collaborating with international artists.
I think there's still some like uncertainty amongst American musicians and like, what is this? Like, can I get on these records? Like, does it make sense for me to, in the same way that like Justin Bieber getting on Despacito didn't seem obvious until it seemed like the most obvious thing in the world. I think that was still a moment before everybody understood, oh, we can collaborate with anyone. That's actually a positive.
But the guest will deviate the conversation back to BTS are sellouts, they're just a boy band, and because they're just a boy band, they will break up like every other Western boy band. It seems like she really wants this to happen, you guys.
Oh, imagine when she found out that they're all enlisting together to come out 2025. Oof. Doomsday.
There was still, I think, just a confusion over what K-pop was, because all of that stuff that had happened around Gangnam Style, and then to be faced with these guys making a song that all of a sudden, who are all these girls screaming in the audience of like the Billboard Music Awards? Oh, this is K-pop? These guys dancing on stage? Oh, they're a boy band, like New Kids on the Block and Backstreet Boys going, hey, BTS. They're like, oh, we get you. But there are also dangers to that approach, because the boy band in America, you have a limited shelf life. These K-pop acts can continue for many years past kind of what we would consider a sell-by date.
Who are you? What are you an expert in? Being a big band fan? Big band fan. What are you an expert at? Where's the expertise? Where's the expertise? She's just making things up about BTS and just preaching like it's gospel.
But you slot yourself into that boy band slot. It's a hard road.
The host seems to disagree that this BTS era is just a boy band era. He points out BTS's variety of artistic directions.
BTS in this time period, there's these more tentative outreaches in both directions. I think that the way that they play with hip hop is important. Obviously, they're not alone in that, and I think gets them a little bit of maybe extra attention in America.
The host's problem with BTS starts in 2021.
To me, the breaking point is butter. I listen to this and I think, where did BTS go? Like, where did they go? Who has them? Where are they trapped? Who's doing this? Why are we doing this? It felt incredibly craven. It's a business decision masquerading as a pop hit. And it is, in fact, a #1 pop hit.
This is...
Oh my lord. Honestly, I hate this. Guys, people have such... I'm sorry, Bora. Like, I'm going to let you cook. I'm just going to do the side dishes, I guess. One of the things I hate is how like, people have such short-term memory. Like, just because your views don't align with a song or a song isn't your style, that doesn't mean they're sellouts. That doesn't mean they're this. Like, are you really gonna like forget everything else that's happened before this just because this song wasn't for you? Are you gonna call BTS for making butter? What about Yet to Come? What about their Chapter 2? They've always just pushed the boundaries in different areas. I don't understand why they always bring up these irrelevant and ignorant points.
This is my biggest problem with K-pop and music journalists reporting on BTS. They treat them like K-pop when BTS were always different from K-pop.
Literally,
Where
yeah.
did BTS go? They are just expanding, which you would know they've done forever if you actually listen to their entire discography. But you only listen to their mainstream songs and try to connect them to K-pop because it's how you perceive them, not who they really are. The truth is that BTS were always too different from the regular, weird, quirky, careless K-pop you love so much. Where did BTS go? They are doing what they were doing from day one, expanding their genres. This is nothing new, but the increased popularity of their variety of sounds is a problem for K-pop fans because it shows how one-dimensional K-pop sound is. BTS is not one-dimensional. They will give you bubblegum pop, hardcore rap, powerful ballads, sentimental R&B songs, and now they will give you mainstream pop.
I've said this so many times. They're always like pushing the boundaries, literally always trying out different genres. Like, they've covered so many different styles of music. It's something else. Like, it's so ignorant to say that BTS are just like doing one thing or like act as if they've sold out. No, they've always done what they wanted to do, and they've tried out so many different things, literally.
Powerful ballads, sentimental R&B songs, and now they will give you mainstream pop. If you don't like it, listen to their other new songs. I'm not even saying to go back to their old discography, because they are still releasing and promoting the songs you like today. Don't just ignore them to create the narrative that they've changed.
Exactly.
They just expanded like they've always done.
And this is the beginning of 3 #1 US Billboard Hot 100 #1s for BTS. It's Butter, Permission to Dance, and My Universe with Coldplay. I mean, I'll take Steve Aoki and Designer over Coldplay.
Why? Because Coldplay are not what? Why? What's wrong with Coldplay? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? Really?
For what it's worth.
First, let's stop crying about BTS's number one.
Look at that.
If you truly are a music expert, you would know why these songs are mainstream and successful. They appeal to the masses. So why does it seem like you don't want BTS to be celebrated this specific way? Why do you criticize them for not staying in the K-pop bubble you created in your head? Why do you deny them the path American artists constantly choose? Why do they have to stay in their lane? I'm not saying that this is exactly what you're saying, because you're not. But these are the conversations you open by making these statements. And that is where this podcast conversation is going to go in a few minutes. You are reinforcing a narrative that is simply not true. You can totally criticize this specific genre of pop songs, but don't pretend that this is the one and only sound BTS has now.
We're in 2021 at this point. BTS is undeniable in terms of scale. Why, at that moment, is this the aesthetic direction of this group?
They've always changed directions. They've always done something new. Just because it's not to your liking now, it's a problem. Like, that's what I don't like. That's why I say it's short-term memory. That's why I feel like people have short-term memory. It's like people don't live to just please you in every single way. Like, you need to be more nuanced. You need to have like a wider range of acceptance of people, and understand that, okay, you like 100 of their 150 songs, for example. Fine. You like 199 songs, but you don't like one, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, what's happening to my BTS? Like, that's just so weird. It's such weird behavior.
Again, this is not their one and only new aesthetic direction. You can criticize this genre of songs if you want, but starting the conversation with this premise
True.
is
It's
wrong.
like
For example,
it's a
in
new
2019, BTS opened their discography to one type of sound that is not my favorite. This genre is one very specific kind of
Make it
R&B
right.
with synthesizers and some type of electronic feel. This style is very popular. So I remember BTS getting praise,
I love
success,
May-
and a bunch of new fans because of their biggest song on this genre. I saw BTS release, perform, and promote this song. And then I saw them release collaborations with artists part of this genre.
I love it.
And although this is probably my least favorite genre ever, I'm not going to call BTS craven or this song a simple business decision, because I know this is not the case. They are just expanding like they've always
I
done.
respect
I
that a
don't
lot.
like this specific genre, so I listen to their other songs. Whether they are old or new, I know BTS always has something for me. One
I
song
respect
is
that.
not going to change my perception, because I know this is just one part of their artistry. The premise that Butter is their new aesthetic direction is flawed, because after this song, they kept releasing and promoting other genres in Korean to other audiences. This entire conversation is pointless. But let's keep listening.
Unlike
Sheesh. Bora. Oh my god. Okay, look. They're talking as if it's fact now. The guest, the expert of nothing, is speaking as if it's fact now. The thing with BTS that I think you have to understand is that's speaking as if it's a fact and not an opinion. Because you said everything I say is my opinion.
some of these other groups that we talked about, they were coming from Big Hit, but then it became Hype. And Hype was really looking to grow very fast. And so a lot of these decisions stem from, in my opinion, a desire to raise.
You said the thing with BTS, I think you have to understand. You're saying it as it's a fact, and then at the end you say, in my opinion,
A lot of money.
So basically, to raise the valuation of the company.
This is the most uninformed take I've heard from these two. If you know BTS like you claim you do, you would know that they had to go to the military around the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021. You can see that was their plan because their performances at the end of 2019 were some kind of see you later, since these were supposed to be their last year-end performances in years.
True.
That means that Dynamite, Butter, Permission to Dance, and My Universe were not supposed to happen. They spontaneously happened because they received an exclusive exemption from the South Korean government for their contributions to the country. Not only that, but if Hype only wanted to make money out of BTS during this time, they wouldn't have wasted their time by releasing a Korean album. They would have released an English album.
True.
The guest destroys her own theory as the conversation continues.
Hype had tried another boy band, TXT, that they had tried to soft launch as BTS's little brothers in, I think it's 2019, but it didn't really take off. And something with these K-pop companies is that the fans, as older groups slow down, fans move on, they adopt a younger group. And this did not happen with Tomorrow By Together. The BTS fans, they just stayed BTS fans.
And that's pretty uncommon.
That's very uncommon.
So if
And that's annoying to a lot of people.
BTS's massive audience never adopted a younger group and actually kept making BTS grow even more,
What does that
why
say?
would BTS release English songs with the sole purpose of making more money for the company? There was not any loss. There was actually growth with their Korean songs. I remember when TXT were promoted as BTS's little brothers, but I don't think the label ever thought of them as replacement for BTS, because BTS was achieving unbelievable things in the West. This is not your favorite K-pop group from 2010, and it's impossible for their label to not notice this. But let's pretend for a second that they didn't notice. Let's assume TXT was made to replace BTS and they failed. Let's hear you out.
Sheesh. Bora's taking it to you. She's like, let's do it your way. And let's see. She's like, okay, come on. You know what? Let's just like remove all logic, disregard what actually happened, and let's go into your Delulu land and let's see what happens.
All right, TXT.
Basically, they were a one-trick pony, and they had to ride that pony until that pony could not go any further. And so really what you see there is a reaction to a lot of different factors, including the pandemic. They had this massive 2020 world tour scheduled that they had to cancel. They didn't have necessarily the resources to refund all that ticket money right away. My impression anyway was with these songs, they needed the cash, and this was one way to do it.
So let's assume HYBE desperately needed the money in 2020. Let's pretend BTS are puppets and they did their English songs for money for the label. What about now? HYBE already refunded all the ticket money and even made more money with other concerts. So why is BTS still releasing some music in English and sometimes not promoting these English songs in the West?
Let's see.
This theory is so flawed. BTS adding one more language to their music is part of their growth.
Yeah.
Period. If it was only because they needed the money at the time, they would have stopped because they don't desperately need the money anymore. And
Oof.
if they keep doing it only to make money, then they would only make music in English, or at least more music in English. But no, for the past 2 years, for every English song, there's 3 Korean songs. Actually, many of these songs in English are not promoted in the West, because not all of them personally want that. It's almost as if the BTS members actually enjoy exploring new genres, sounds, and languages.
But the haters don't want to hear that, Bora. They don't want to see this. They know this already as well. If you actually sit them down and ask them why they're so upset and why they hate BTS, it's literally stemming from a jealousy place. I think being fans of other groups, I think all of them wishes that they could be in the position that BTS is and the position that ARMY is. Look, it's just like don't make these false narratives. I hate false narratives. I hate people that lie and twist things and turn it into, I don't say like I hate people, but I hate when people do that, because it's just so, it says a lot about you as a person, and it tells me to stay away, for real.
These are just artistic choices, and reducing this to a monetary decision is an insult to BTS's diverse discography. Maybe
sure.
listening too much K-pop really does make you forget how artists outside of K-pop like BTS work and create music. So again, the host kind of disagrees with the guest's monetary theory, making the guest's opinion of BTS fully come out.
Look, plenty of great art over the years across disciplines has been made as the result of financial pressure. I am not of the camp that says that financial or logistical considerations can't create the circumstance for great art. However, that is not what I believe is happening here. So why not just make essentially neutral, generic pop, English language pop, by the most famous band in the world? And then, boy, it will end up at the top of the charts, and which is exactly what happened. That's how it feels to me. But again, doesn't that on some level damage the thing that BTS has been good at up until that?
No, it doesn't. Permission to Dance, for example, came out during a time when the world really needed it. It was a unity making song, literally, to just bring people together, share some positive energy. Like, how does that damage? Like, that's what I don't like about this. So if this podcaster just talks about music and tries to change things up, but you've always been doing the same thing, and then you change it up, people are gonna be like, like, why are you changing now? You know, like, okay, even then people would understand. BTS has never followed just the same formula for anything. They've literally always done something new, something fresh, something unique, And you never know how long that period lasts. It's literally a ride. Like that's why we have so many different eras. And just because you don't resonate with one era doesn't damage what BTS has done. Doesn't damage what they've been good at. It does no harm to anything BTS has done. I think it's just because it's English now, it's a full English song that dominated the US market and worldwide. Now it becomes a problem just because it did that. No, you know what? BTS quite literally just showed you that if they want to, they can get as many number ones as they want. Easy. But these guys care about their art. They care about their music. For them, it's more about exploring their own limits and seeing where they can go, how far they can swim, how far they can fly, and try out these different genres and all these other good stuff. To them, if they were solely focused on what you guys are accusing them of, they would BTS wouldn't be BTS. They've always done something different. Whether it's in English, whether it's in Korean, whether it's in Japanese, you have no idea. But I hate that people just like put these labels on it because of how they feel about a specific song or like they're biased.
That point.
I would think so. I was in a small group of fans who we had liked BTS previous to a lot of.
Oh, guys, have you heard my song? I made a song for this kind of people. I go. Wait. Oh, nah, baby. You said you're no longer a fan. No more BTS stan. You're done being ARMY. And that's just fine. But why'd you have to make a post? No, you're just doing the most. We don't really care. Can't you tell we don't care? We don't really care. Do you get it? We actually mean it. We don't care. We generally don't care. Sorry. This is a thing that always happens. I feel like they always like make this their point. We had liked BTS previously.
This and
Safe space. Is it me too? It's fine. Like,
and
don't tweet us. We're grown-ups.
we had just drifted away because this was not anything I wanted to listen to. It didn't sound like the group that I had enjoyed. Even with BTS being that chameleon group, they were able to handle a bunch of different styles and do them well. But yeah, this one was it was a step too far.
Such a
Okay. This is the classical story of the supposed ex-fan. The typical K-pop fan who was okay with BTS being different from K-pop as long as they stay in the K-pop bubble.
Exactly.
Her problem did not start with Butter. Her problem starts with Mic Drop, BTS's global domination. I don't believe these 3 songs were a step too far from.
She literally can't keep track of her hateful statements that she's getting her own timelines wrong. Like she's making things up. Apparently she liked it all, but then for Dynamite and Butter, got too long, got too far.
From you. These songs in the middle of 2 powerful Korean albums and 1 Japanese album, I don't believe you. You never liked BTS going mainstream, no matter their genre, no matter their language. This is my theory because I don't know this person, so these are just opinions that will be supported by the guest's later statements. BTS going mainstream is too much because you cannot fetishize them anymore. Although BTS never really went in.
I don't get that. You can't fetishize.
It's too much because you can
fetishize. Fetish. What does that mean?
Not fetishize them anymore. Although BTS never really went into the weird and crazy K-pop aesthetic, they were still singing in Korean and Japanese, and that is weird enough for you. My theory is that you're mad at BTS for being too successful in the West, because now K-pop is not your little secret anymore. These songs are too much for you because they validate BTS's real presence in the West. These songs gives them Grammy nominations, recognition by the American general public, and puts them right next to the biggest artists in the world. So what about K-pop? They are abandoned. Now you cannot even pretend BTS is part of that anymore.
I think if you take the devil's advocate position, Butter proves a point, which is that the biggest, most popular English language, in quote mark, music act, boy band, pop act, need not derive from America or from Europe. That group can come from anywhere. I think that's a valuable contribution to like how pop's globalization is understood. That said, it seems like a genuine aesthetic setback for this group in particular.
Why? Why? You want them not to do things just so you can like keep that thing. I'm telling you, it's like it's almost like people hate success. Just like Bora says, some people just want you to just like stay in your lane and like okay, you can be good but not like too good, because when you become too good, then people are going to start like talking, and then why?
Despite the host's lack of acknowledgement about BTS's variety of music directions that continue to expand today, notice how he at least tries to value Jungkook's English album for what it is before the guest denies it.
I think the Jungkook album is really instructive. When I first listened to it, I was like, it's so glossy, just like sealed up tight, no edges on it at all. And then after a couple listens, I was like, maybe that's the point. Maybe that's okay. And I sort of like warmed to it as a shiny artifact. And what does that tell you? That for Jungkook at this stage of his career, that is the direction that folks chose to go in.
To me, it sounds like listening to top 40 radio, like to an iHeart radio station, and getting a nice sample of everything.
Nah, this actually annoys me. How dare you? How dare you? You're a pabo expert. That's what you are. You're an expert of pabo. That is such an...
That's in the charts right now. And there's nothing wrong with that.
You are such a bitter person, for real. Go out. Maybe go exercise. Just do something. Like, you don't have the capabilities to set aside your hatred for one moment. Like, you're like literally, you were never a BTS fan. Never. No way. Like, this is like a personal vendetta. This is not even funny. But this is like a personal vendetta. Like did they like, what have they done to you? This podcast sounds like a top 500 podcast. And by top 500, I mean bottom. There's nothing interesting here. There's nothing constructive. There's no expertise talking. It's just two pabos talking about nothing. They literally have no idea what they're saying, host included, because you know I've seen other things from this host. Just,
do you think it's good?
I don't think it's bad. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a
literally, like, she struggles to just, is it good? She can't say yes.
very serviceable mainstream pop album.
Yeah, again, I warmed to it.
Why are you using like serviceable mainstream pop album words as if that's gonna reinforce our opinion of you being an expert? Pabo expert.
As that.
Yeah, there's some good songs on there.
What did I say? Your real problem is BTS being a mainstream act. Some minutes before, you recommended and celebrated a Western-sounding big band song.
Hit
But
'em
when
with the
Jungkook
receipts.
releases what you say are good mainstream pop songs, you are not a fan. You accept that the songs from Jungkook's English album are good. But you say it what it sounds like holding back tears.
Is K-pop being stripped on some level of the singular things that made it so fascinating? I would have been way more excited to hear whoever the next Justin Bieber is trying to make records that sound like K-pop records than hearing Jungkook trying to make records that sound like Washed Up.
Wait a minute, hold up. I need to read this. Washed Up Records? Washed Up Records? This is a shame for New York Times, honestly. This is a stain on whatever you got, whatever your brand is. Because if this is your expert podcast and this is the level that they keep, this is kindergarten level. That's why I'm calling them Pabo. I'm gonna match their kindergarten energy. Like, really? JK's albums sound like Washed Up Records? You both sound like
Justin Timberlake records.
Some media people reporting on international entertainment really need some kind of crash course on American privilege, English speaking privilege, and how hard the path of foreign artists is in America. Because wow, some of these expectations American critics have for foreign acts is so tone deaf sometimes. And that's me being nice.
It's an attempt to make American music, but just by a Korean. There really is no K-pop in this album other than the fact that the audience listening to it is a K-pop audience. That's what makes it K-pop. It'll go in one ear and out the other. But yeah, I do agree that something is lost there.
it'll go in one ear or out the other. Everything you say goes in and out.
There, because there is a sound to K-pop. I think previously there was always this real eclectic drive to just pick up pieces from here and there and everywhere, use new sounds, use new and bigger and brighter colors
If you want brighter colors, turn your contrast up.
and costuming and
Yeah, and just get the weirdest stuff so that they can be niche. And as long as they're niche, it fits your narrative. As long as they're niche, you like BTS. But as soon as they break out of your bubble and leave your Big Bang behind, all of a sudden, it's a problem.
just get the weirdest stuff that you can find and throw it on screen. And there are still acts doing that. I heard a song the other day that sounded like country music style, like guitars like all through it. And yeah, it was great.
Come on.
We finally agree on something. Kind of. These guys would say that what BTS is doing now is not real K-pop. It's just K-pop by association. I say that BTS was never as connected to K-pop as they picture it in their minds. BTS never got the weirdest stuff they could find and throw it on screen. BTS were always too thoughtful on their message. They were always too careful in their sound. BTS, as artists, would never release what was just played. With all due respect to the group, if this is your best example of real K-pop today, then I guess we agree. BTS is not K-pop.
Why is it so hard?
BTS is not this.
Here's the devil's advocate read. It's inherently meaningful that the most American pop album of this year was made by someone from South Korea, from a K-pop boy band. That's where I'm pulled in both directions. On some level, I think that's inherently valuable or interesting or thought-provoking. And I think would encourage non-K-pop listeners to think hard about the pop music that they consume and say, that's fascinating. I'm getting this very similar product, but it's coming down a different pathway.
It's not, though. That's the thing, is all the writers, all the producers, it's an American album with a Korean face on it. If I was a listener that was like, oh, this is what a K-pop guy can do, it sounds just like Justin Timberlake. Why do you need a Korean guy doing Justin Timberlake when we have Justin Timberlake?
Oh!
You know, I don't need to fly to Seoul to go see Trolls 3, right? It's a here.
Damn.
Okay, ignoring the secondhand embarrassment I got.
A grown man popping that week, what she perceived was a dunk. You missed the basket. You missed the basket completely. Like, these guys don't even listen to what JK is doing. They don't listen to what BTS is doing. They literally just hate. And I hate how hosts, like, this is why I can't trust most, like, podcasters, like, interviewers. They would literally kiss the feet of whoever is there in that moment. Like, they, even if it goes against something they said in the past, they will still just be like, yeah, like, play along with it. That's so weak, so
From that little interaction, let's focus on what they said. The host tries to play devil's advocate and says that even if it's American pop, there's something inherently valuable when this comes from someone from South Korea. This never happens. This is something new. So this is still thought-provoking. But the K-pop fan says no. If she wanted American pop, she would listen to the American.
Oh, you mean the Pabo expert?
Koreans should stick to K-pop because they will never be the real Justin Timberlake. Again, this is just my interpretation.
I really don't want JK to be the next Justin Timberlake. I really don't.
But it really sounds like stay in your lane, don't try going mainstream in my country.
That's exactly what it is. It's subtle, but you can get those vibes from just how subtle it is. You picked it up perfectly. That's exactly what it is. Like, JK just showed you that if he wants to, he can dominate USA. He can dominate the Western market. He comes in with his album, does what he's doing, breaking records every day. Easy. Like just whatever. Please.
Mainstream pop music is for Americans only.
We're having this conversation. Two Americans that care a lot about this particular kind of music. Are we trying to protect something that in Korea, amongst the core fan base, those fans are like, this is fine. I have no problem with this.
From what I understand, I don't think we're off base. I have heard a lot of complaints from...
I have no problem with this.
But from what I understand, I don't think we're off base. I have heard a lot of complaints from fellow fans, not in America, fellow fans in Asia, that this just isn't what we're looking for. Ironically, I think you do find that what's popular in Korea right now, it's stuff like Akmu, one of the popular songs right now. Just a very sweet little ditty.
Exactly. Korea listens to calm songs by artists like Akmu, not to the
Shit, oh my god, Bora!
You are the audience for that. The complaints of BTS's mainstream sound come from you, the American K-pop audience wanting K-pop to be weird and nothing else.
Guys, Spring Day is still charting.
Korea never liked that. Korea likes thoughtful. Korea likes quote-unquote normal. Korea likes BTS, not K-pop.
K-pop without the K. It's interesting philosophically to think about what does that mean? Is that a geographic thing, a stylistic thing, a language thing? It's interesting to have been observing that industry for the last 10 plus years and see it be going through this kind of like tug of war about like how do we grow? And maybe
It's
even
not as interesting as it seems. You guys just think you're too important. Like literally, that's what it is. Like you guys think that you're like this sense of entitlement that you're on some high horse and you get to say these things and you get to do these things and you are the experts.
And I guess if you do want to hear a very shiny pop album of pop music made by a person who knows pop music, there, go listen to Golden by Jungkook.
I don't know why he's laughing here, but he's proving my point. Jungkook knows pop music. He knows how to sing it. He knows how to perform it. Out of the 7 BTS members, he's the one who listens to it the most. That's why his English album works. And that should not bother K-pop fans this much. I can
taking
say
years
so
off
many
my
things
life.
about this podcast, but it all comes down to one thing. Many K-pop experts simply don't get BTS. Maybe
There's only Pabo experts in this podcast.
because of lack of research, or maybe because of strong stereotypes and preconceived notions they create in their minds. Whatever the reason, I'm tired of these out-of-touch American K-pop critics
Louder.
calling successful Korean people all sorts of stuff because they dare to become mainstream.
They're not your fantasy. They're literally not in your fantasy, and they shouldn't be in your niche just because you want them to be. These guys have transcended everything. They have transcended all the limits, and that bothers you? Well, boo-hoo. You know what? Back to my song. This is part 2. Yes, I do. I really do. I don't care, and you don't care. No one cares. Yeah. Oh, boo-hoo. 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 Yeah. Let me tell you, we don't care. No shed tears, this ain't they care. By the way, I like it clear. Got fluffy hair like a polar bear. Stream friends by day. Oh. I made this song before before Bora released her video, and it fits perfectly. Boo-hoo to you!
They dare to attempt entering the Western music market and succeed. How dare they?
Exactly.
They can sing in Japanese and try to target Japanese audiences if they want, but how dare they learn and sing in our language?
So true, so true.
Or I would say your language, because English is also my second language. But still, it was fun when they attempted and failed, but when they succeed, that's when they have a
Boom.
problem. It's okay for Koreans to sing in Japanese, even though they don't speak it, but English is too far. If this is not xenophobia, I don't know what it is.
100% it is. Like, they're fine, literally. If BTS starts making music in Spanish, no one's gonna be like, this is... But as soon as, like, you tap into that, they got this holier than thou thing, like, come on, you gotta do better. You're experts. What scares me is that it can be people just like these two behind the Grammys, and that's exactly why BTS didn't win. Like, they're saying these things publicly. Who knows what they're thinking and what they actually feel on the inside, that this is just the podcast talk. Oh Lord. Oh
it is.
Lord, man.
But
Lord.
maybe, like this podcast suggested, K-pop does not need to go in this direction. We can have that conversation. Maybe K-pop should be okay with their weird songs, their nonsense lyrics, their K-pop audiences, and their 2 streams a month. But don't put the blame on BTS, who never followed the wishes of K-pop audiences. From day one, they were different. You admit that. So don't cry when they continue the path they have always walked. Don't blame BTS when every other K-pop group abandons their old K-pop audience, abandons you. It's not BTS's fault.
What a mic drop. Honestly, Bora, amazingly said. This was a very frustrating video to watch, honestly, but like you gotta find the fun in it. And you know what? Maybe some of you may say that my reaction was childish, but sometimes you gotta match the energy. There's no point in me just like look, it was two Pabos having a conversation, and it was led by a Pabo expert that is just very, very sad. Boo hoo that BTS is successful. Boo hoo that their chapter 2 is groundbreaking. Boo hoo to you. You know what? I hope I never become that kind of person where another artist's success is affecting me this much that I go on a podcast and I tweet about them all the time, talking bad about them, try to discredit them, and you will never succeed. You will never succeed. That's what's killing you on the inside. You know that you will never be able to see what it is that you wish to see. It's not gonna happen. It's just like, to me, it's just lame, because this is not the first time you see this type of thing come out from the West. You know, this is not the first time you see an interviewer or a podcaster do this, and this is very unprofessional. Like, how are people gonna take your opinion seriously? How are they gonna take your words seriously when it is so evident that you do not respect what BTS has done or are doing, and instead you use one of the lamest excuses ever of saying their new aesthetic direction, and you use that as if you were so in love with them before. Just now within their new direction, this is like the breaking point for you. It's just really lame. It's just really lame. Look, I've said this before. I said it in my song, and I say it again. You like BTS? Fine. No one's gonna ask you to like BTS. No one's gonna beg you to like BTS. No one's gonna beg you to be an ARMY. You become an ARMY. It's an organic thing. I've said this so many times. If you decide to no longer be ARMY, nobody cares. Okay? Nobody cares. Nobody's gonna try to like convince you to stay. But be a little bit mature, and don't make that your entire like point going forward, as if you have a chip on your shoulder because now you're no longer a fan of BTS, that you have so much to say, and oh my god, you this and that, and you've held your tongue back or whatever. Nobody cares. I don't care. You don't care. We don't care. Easy. Thank you so much, Bora. Honestly, thank you for this. This was a very frustrating video, but I like how you break it down. I like the things you say. You totally dunked on both of these people, and you used the best, most satisfying way of doing that is when you use their own words and actions against them, because they're quite literally dunking on themselves, you know, going in circles. And the host, while he did try to play devil's advocate a couple of times, he was definitely loving the way, the direction this conversation was going. He was loving it. For sure. To me, if you want to make that podcast fair, bring in someone that is on the polar opposite side. Have an anti and have an ARMY experts. What do you want to call it? Let them have a conversation and see what the differences are. My thing is, watching stuff like Suchda and you hear the intelligent conversation, watching things like I Use Palette and all the other show, it's so great. This podcast, honestly, I would not be surprised if it goes out of service whenever. It's just like, if this is the hosts, imagine the audience. That's all I'm saying. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.